Hey guys, back with another basketball type video. Sorry for the 1 to 2 day delay from when I was expected to first record and upload. If we're being honest, I wasn't too confident in some of my picks, and I was like debating back and forth, on a few of them here and there, past day or so, and I was a little bit like, I guess I don't know, self conscious or like anxious about like my picks and just like how people would react to certain picks. But then I was like, you know what, fuck it. This is just supposed to be for fun. I'm not going to Vegas and putting money down on any of my picks for the bracket, so who cares? So first off, we're gonna start with the Eastern Conference teams because I'm in the East Coast, and then we're gonna do the Western Conference teams. Then we're gonna talk like a bit briefly about the finals matchup that I think might possibly happen. And we're going to start with the 1 through 8 matchup and then finish off at the bottom part of it with the 2 to 7 matchup. So the first matchup we got is Bucks Magic. I believe the series was 1-1 last time I checked. So let me just at least check that part. I'm pretty sure it's tied up, but I think the Bucks are definitely going to win the series. Even though the Magic won the first game, I don't think they're going to be able to maintain that whatsoever. A lot of people are shocked they won at all. Although I will give them a lot of credit, they won by 12. Yeah, so the Bucks won today. That's tied up 1-1. I think the Bucks will win in 6. So I don't think the Magic are going to win another game, but if they do, they're only going to win one more game, and then the Bucks are just going to win a few games, rattle off a few wins in a row, and move on to the next series. Pacers Heat, because Sabonis is out, Jeremy Lamb is out, and I think Sabonis might have played like a few minutes. I'm not too sure, but I know he's been like out with plantar fasciitis. Jeremy Lamb's out for the season, so he not going to play at all. And then Oladipo has been like a little bit shaky. He's still recovering from his injury, so he's not going to be, at least I don't think he's going to be super consistent. So I have the Heat winning that series in 5 and moving on to the next rounds. Celtics Sixers. Celtics are just a much better team, and it definitely showed through the first 2 games. They're up 2-0 in the series right now, and the Sixers just look like they're falling apart. Like, I didn't watch the entire game, but I saw enough that they just looked like they were just falling apart from a motivational standpoint, and like just weren't playing well at all. Joel Embiid is usually like a motivator for that team. He was like crying after the loss, or like right as the time was expiring in the game, from what I heard. and he's the guy who's supposed to like rally the team for the most part. With Ben Simmons out, also, I don't see how they even win one game in that series. So, Celtics moving on in four. Next matchup is Raptors Nets. Although I'll give the Nets a lot of credit for getting the 7th seed, and they were playing pretty well in the bubble the last few games. And they got a solid group of young players, but the Raptors are just too good, and they have guys like Marc Gasol and just a solid group of players that can definitely get the job done against the Nets, and they have that championship experience. So, yeah, I don't see how the Nets even win one game in that. So, I think the Raptors will move on in four. Next series would be Bucks Heat, and I'm a Heat fan. You guys know that, and they're playing much better since the start of the playoffs. I still don't think they have enough against the Bucks, even though they beat them in, I think it was 3 games in the regular season. I just don't see them beating the Bucks with Giannis, even though they do have guys who can match up well with them defensively. I just don't know if it'd be enough to like shut him down. And then they still got to worry about Chris Middleton and a few other really solid players on the Bucks. So I just don't see it. So I think the Bucks are going to beat the Heat in 6 and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Next up, we'd have the Celtics against the Raptors. Celtics are really similar to the Nets, but obviously much better at this juncture. Really solid young team, really good depth for the most part, but Gordon Hayward is going to be out for, I think it was like at least 4 weeks with an injury. And he's a solid 3-and-D guy. Also, I just think this Celtics team, although they're pretty good, they're still very young and not super experienced just yet. So they might get a bit overhyped and a little bit overconfident, and I feel like that can end up screwing them over in the ends. Whereas the Raptors, as I said before, they got the championship experience. They're not going to get overwhelmed by the situation, and they've been able to move on to the next round before. So I see no reason why they shouldn't be able to once more. So I got the Raptors in 6 in that series, moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. And although the Bucks are a really good team, I actually think the Raptors are going to get back to the NBA Finals and upset the Bucks. I think it'll be a close series, though. I think they'll get 2 games on the Raptors, so I say Raptors win in 6, and Raptors advance to the NBA Finals. So for the Western Conference, first matchup, we got the Lakers against the Blazers. Although they played like shit, with the exception of LeBron and Anthony Davis, who I wouldn't say even played well. They played okay, those 2 guys, and then the rest of the team just played like absolute shit. I don't think that's gonna happen. This game's actually going on right now, but I'm not paying attention to it because that would be cheating. um, I think they're gonna beat the Blazers and get out of whatever little funk they got going on right now, going into this second game that they're playing right now. And I think the Lakers are gonna win in six. So I do respect the Blazers enough that they're gonna get have a good chance of getting one more win before being sent packing. So I think the Lakers might end up losing one more and then just either getting the gentleman's sweep or something of that nature to end up advancing to the semis. And next matchup, we got the Rockets against OKC. I think the Rockets are going to win in 5. Although OKC surprised a lot of people, myself included. I did not think they were going to be this good this year. I don't think anyone did, honestly. I don't think they got enough firepower, honestly, to keep up with the Rockets, especially if the Rockets are firing on all cylinders. They're that kind of team when they get hot, they could just literally shoot you out of the fucking building and just run you off the court. And the first game, they didn't even have Russell Westbrook, but James Harden just willed them to a victory. I don't think Russell Westbrook played tonight either. I believe they won tonight as well, though. I do think OKC could pull out one win, though, at some point. But despite that, I think the Rockets are going to advance to the next rounds. Next matchup we got is Nuggets Jazz. Nuggets, similar to Celtics, solid young team. They got Jamal Murray. He was pretty good down the stretch last game. They have Jokic, who's pretty good. And just a solid young team for the most part. Good defensively. And the Jazz, they got Donovan Mitchell, obviously. And he's a really, really good player. As good as he is, though, even though the Jazz do have some other good pieces, I feel like he's going to be trying to do a bit too much compared to the other guys on his team to try and get the wins. And Mitchell's not going to be able to do it for the most part on his own. So he's probably going to feel a bit overwhelmed. And despite putting up big numbers, I don't see them winning the series. So I do think they could win 1 or 2 games. So I'll say Nuggets win the series in 6, with Jazz taking 2 of those games at some point. Clippers Mavericks now. The Mavericks already won one of those games. So with that being said, Mavericks are really solid. They got Luka Doncic, who's been excellent, especially the game from the other night. Clippers obviously got Kawhi and Paul George, and they have a really fucking deep team, the Clippers. Although the Mavericks bench played really well last night. Still think the Clippers will advance and win out over the Mavericks. I think the combination of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard would just be too much for the Mavericks to handle. and say the Clippers win that series in 6. Next up, we got the Lakers against the Rockets. And I think the Lakers are going to struggle a lot against the Rockets. One thing I will say that is most definitely to the Lakers' advantage is the Rockets don't really have that marquee big man. They've been playing very, very, very like ultra small ball this season, which has been very peculiar to watch, but it's actually been working out for them surprisingly. But now that we're into the playoffs, you need a big man who can get you boards and block shots and do all that good stuff and play high intensity defense and bring that energy that can end up spilling over from the defensive side of the ball to the offensive side. And they don't really have that. But the Lakers, they got Dwight Howard and they also have JaVale McGee. And I think they're going to be able to do a lot of damage against the Rockets. So, despite being able to take advantage of that matchup very much so, the Rockets are still a pretty good team. So, I'll say the Lakers win in 7. And move on to the Western Conference Finals. Next matchup, we got Nuggets Clippers. And Nuggets, very good team. As I said, very good defensive team. Clippers are also normally a good defensive team. They didn't play so well on defense the other night. I think they'll be able to pick it up by the second rounds, though. And I think the Clippers should be able to win out against the Nuggets in 6 games and advance to the Western Conference Finals. So for the Western Conference Finals matchup, obviously we got the Lakers against the Clippers. Really solid matchup. I really hope this matchup happens. Kawhi Leonard against LeBron James. It would just be really nice. LeBron and AD against Kawhi and Paul George, just excellent. That'd be awesome. So, although LeBron is really fucking good, I'm not entirely sold on the rest of the team. You know, KCP played like shit. He'll probably play better in the next few games. Danny Green is a good shooter, usually. He played like shit last night. And with the Clippers normally being a pretty good defensive team, I think those guys that are like from the 6 men on the Lakers toward like the middle of the bench guys are going to struggle a lot. And if they want to win out against the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals, they're not only going to need contributions from LeBron and AD and the rest of the starters, but they're going to need a lot of contributions here and there. Every game, they're going to need to have at least 2-3 guys from the bench step up. And with the Clippers playing good defense for the most part, I feel like they're going to be able to shut down most of those guys. Especially after seeing how some of them played last night. So I don't see the Lakers winning against the Clippers. I see the Clippers winning in 7 games. So I do think it'll be close, but I think ultimately they won't be able to fully handle what the Clippers can throw at them offensively and defensively. Mainly defensively, though. So for the NBA Finals matchup, we got Clippers, Raptors, so Kawhi going up against this old team really would be awesome. And although the Raptors pretty much have everyone from last year's team. Clippers are just really freaking deep, and Kawhi meshes with Paul George, I think, pretty well. And there's a lot of good chemistry on that team. And despite the Raptors having the championship blueprint already established from last season, I think ultimately they're not going to be able to fully deal with Kawhi, Paul George, and everyone else they could throw at them. And ultimately, I think the Clippers are going to win the NBA Finals in 6 games. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.